It's my journey, it's your journey. You need my help and I need yours. 'Cause we are.
Welcome to Journeys of Faith. Brother Joseph Frey Aldenhoven here. Be sure to look at the description for special information of interest to you. Our Lady of Banneux apparitions, Virgin of the Poor. In the quiet, unassuming village of Banneux, nestled in the Belgian countryside, a profound spiritual mystery unfolded in the winter of 1933. It was here, in this humble corner of the world, that a young girl named Mariette Beco claimed to have witnessed the Blessed Virgin Mary, an event that would ripple through the Catholic world and draw countless pilgrims seeking solace, healing, and a deeper connection to their faith. Known as Our Lady of Banneux, the Virgin appeared to Mariette with a message of compassion and hope, calling herself the Virgin of the Poor and urging prayer for all nations. For us at Journeys of Faith, a Catholic nonprofit dedicated to illuminating the wonders of our tradition, the story of Banneux is more than history. It's a living testament to the transformative power of divine encounters. As we've walked the paths of countless holy sites since our founding in 1980 by Bob and Penny Lord, we've seen how places like Banneux resonate with the faithful. From the Eucharistic miracle of Lanciano that reignited Bob and Penny's faith to the serene springs of Banneux, these sacred spaces are not just destinations, they are invitations to encounter God's presence in tangible, life-changing ways. Through our pilgrimages, retreats at Holy Family Mission in Arkansas, and the array of media we produce, books, DVDs, streaming videos, and more, we strive to bring these stories to life for Catholics and pilgrims everywhere. The apparitions at Banneux, with their quiet simplicity and profound call to prayer, embody the heart of our mission, to offer transformative spiritual experiences that deepen devotion and connect us to the miracles and traditions at the core of our faith. So let's journey together to Banneux to uncover the details of Mariette's visions, the message of Our Lady of Banneux, and the enduring legacy of this sacred site. Whether you're a lifelong Catholic or a curious seeker, there's something in this story that speaks to the universal longing for hope, healing, and a glimpse of the divine. Stick with us as we explore how a small Belgian village became a beacon of faith for the world. Historical context of Belgium in 1933. In 1933, Belgium was a nation grappling with the aftershocks of global upheaval, a small but significant player in a world still reeling from the Great War and teetering on the edge of economic collapse. The Great Depression had sunk its claws deep into Europe, and Belgium, with its industrial heartlands in Wallonia and Flanders, felt the sting acutely. Factories shuttered, unemployment soared, and families like the Becos in the quiet village of Banneux struggled to keep bread on the table. This was a time of rationed hope, where the daily grind of survival often drowned out any whispers of the divine. Politically, Belgium was a constitutional monarchy under King Albert I, a figure of stability in a fractured continent. Yet beneath the surface, tension simmered. The linguistic divide between the French-speaking Walloons and the Dutch-speaking Flemish was growing, a cultural fault line that mirrored the broader European unrest. Fascism was creeping across borders, with Hitler's rise in Germany casting a shadow just to the east. For many Belgians, faith remained a refuge, a tether to something eternal amid the chaos. The Catholic Church, deeply woven into the fabric of daily life, offered solace through its rituals and promises of grace. Banneux itself was a speck on the map, a rural hamlet in the Ardennes region, far from the political machinations of Brussels. Life here was simple, often harsh, dictated by the rhythms of the seasons and the toll of manual labor. The people were devout, their faith a quiet strength, passed down through generations in whispered prayers and worn rosaries. It was against this backdrop of hardship and humble piety that the extraordinary broke through. Apparitions of Our Lady of Banneux, a beacon of hope to a people desperate for a sign. The year 1933, marked by struggle, became a pivot point, a moment where the mundane and the miraculous collided in the most unlikely of places. Mariette Beco, the humble visionary. In the quiet, unassuming village of Banneux, Belgium, a young girl named Mariette Beco became the unexpected vessel of divine grace in 1933. She was just 11 years old, a child of humble means, living in a small, working class family with little to distinguish her from the other children of the region. Yet it was to Mariette that Our Lady of Banneux chose to appear, delivering messages of healing, hope, and prayer that would echo through the decades. Her story is not one of grand heroics or polished sanctity, but of raw, unvarnished faith, a reminder that God often speaks through the least among us. Mariette's first encounter with the Blessed Virgin came on a frigid January evening, January 15th, 1933, as she peered out the window of her family's modest home, anxiously awaiting her brother's return. What she saw was no ordinary sight. A luminous figure, a woman of ethereal beauty, draped in white with a blue sash, standing in the snow covered garden. Mariette described her as radiant, with a gentle smile that seemed to pierce the cold night. The girl, uneducated in the finer points of theology, didn't immediately grasp the significance. She called out to her mother, who dismissed it as a trick of the light or childish imagination. But Mariette knew what she'd seen, and the vision would return, night after night, drawing her deeper into a mystery she couldn't fully comprehend. Over the course of 8 apparitions from January 15th to March 2nd, 1933, the lady spoke to Mariette with a simplicity that matched the girl's own unpretentious nature. She identified herself as the Virgin of the Poor, a title that resonated deeply in a community scarred by economic hardship. The messages were not complex treatises, but urgent calls to prayer, to belief, and to care for the sick. One of the most poignant moments came when the lady led Mariette to a small spring near the village, declaring it a place of healing for all nations. This spring is reserved for the sick, she said, and soon reports of miraculous cures began to surface, drawing pilgrims to Banneux in search of both physical and spiritual restoration. What strikes me most about Mariette is her ordinariness. She wasn't a mystic in training or a child prodigy of piety. She struggled with her lessons at school, faced skepticism from her own family, and endured ridicule from neighbors who thought her visions were delusions or lies. Yet she held fast to what she knew to be true, even when the weight of disbelief pressed hard against her. There's a stubborn courage in that, a quiet, unshakable trust in the divine encounter that shaped her life. The church, after thorough investigation, would eventually approve the apparitions in 1949, affirming what Mariette had known in her heart all along. Her life after the visions wasn't one of fame or glory. Mariette married, raised a family, and lived quietly, often shying away from the spotlight that the events of 1933 had cast upon her. She bore the burden of being a visionary with a humility that mirrored the messages she received, messages of service, of compassion for the suffering, of turning to Mary as a mother for all. In a world that often glorifies the loud and the powerful, Mariette Beco stands as a testament to the strength found in simplicity, in the faith of a child who saw beyond the veil of the ordinary and into the heart of the divine. Chronology of the 8 apparitions. In the quiet, unassuming village of Banneux, Belgium, the winter of 1933 became a pivotal chapter in the story of faith for countless Catholics. Between January 15th and March 2nd, a young girl named Mariette Beco, just 11 years old, became the unlikely witness to a series of divine encounters with Our Lady of Banneux. These 8 apparitions, steeped in simplicity yet profound in their message, unfolded with a cadence that feels almost cinematic, a slow build of mystery, grace, and purpose. Let's walk through the timeline of these sacred moments, piecing together the events as they were reported with a reverence for the spiritual weight they carry. January 15th, 1933. The first glimpse. It began on a cold Sunday evening. Mariette, peering out the window of her modest home, spotted a luminous figure in the garden, a woman, radiant and serene, cloaked in white with a blue sash. The figure beckoned to her, though no words were spoken. Mariette's initial reaction was a mix of awe and uncertainty, but this silent invitation marked the start of something extraordinary. January 18th, 1933, the call to follow. 3 days later, the vision returned. This time, the lady led Mariette out into the freezing night, guiding her along a path to a small spring. Here, the Blessed Virgin spoke for the first time, declaring, "Push your hands into the water. This spring is reserved for me." The message was cryptic yet tender, hinting at a purpose yet to unfold. January 19th, 1933, a mission revealed. On the third night, the lady appeared again near the spring. She identified herself as the Virgin of the Poor and clarified the spring's significance. This spring is reserved for all nations to relieve the sick. The universal call to healing was unmistakable, a promise of hope that transcended borders. January 20th, 1933, a test of faith. The fourth apparition tested Mariette's resolve. Under scrutiny from skeptics, including her own family, she returned to the spring. The lady appeared, reinforcing her message of healing and urging prayer. Despite the biting cold and doubt surrounding her, Mariette's persistence mirrored the quiet strength of faith itself. February 11th, 1933, a gap and a return. After a weeks-long silence, the fifth vision came on the feast of Our Lady of Lourdes. The Virgin of the Poor reiterated her identity and mission, asking Mariette to pray a lot. The timing, coinciding with another Marian feast, felt like a deliberate nod to the interconnectedness of these divine interventions. February 15th, 1933, perseverance amid doubt. The sixth apparition saw Mariette facing growing disbelief from her community. Yet the lady appeared once more, her presence a steady anchor. She urged continued prayer, a reminder that faith often demands endurance in the face of worldly skepticism. February 20th, 1933, a plea for belief. In the seventh encounter, the Blessed Virgin's tone carried a gentle urgency. My dear child, pray a lot. She also expressed a longing for others to believe in her through Mariette's witness. It was a poignant moment highlighting the personal responsibility of sharing faith. March 2nd, 1933, the final farewell. The eighth and final apparition came with a bittersweet weight. Our Lady of Banneux spoke her last words to Mariette. I am the mother of the Savior, mother of God. Pray a lot. Adieu. With that, she blessed the child and departed, leaving behind a legacy of healing and a call to unceasing prayer. These 8 moments, though brief in the grand scope of history, ripple with a quiet intensity. Each apparition built upon the last, weaving a narrative of compassion, healing, and devotion that would eventually draw pilgrims from across the globe to this humble Belgian village. The story of Mariette and the Virgin of the Poor isn't just a historical footnote, it's a living testament to the power of faith to transform the ordinary into the eternal. The Blessed Virgin's title, Our Lady of Banneux. In the quiet, unassuming village of Banneux, Belgium, the Blessed Virgin Mary revealed herself in 1933 to a young girl named Mariette Beco, bearing a title that would echo through the hearts of the faithful, Our Lady of Banneux. This wasn't just a fleeting vision or a private whisper, it was a divine encounter, raw and real, etched into the fabric of Catholic devotion. Mariette, an 11-year-old from a working class family, wasn't steeped in a theological grandeur or primed for mysticism. She was ordinary, like most of us, yet chosen for an extraordinary mission. Over 8 apparitions from January to March of that year, Mary spoke with a tenderness and urgency that cut through the mundane, calling herself the Virgin of the Poor and offering a message of healing and hope. The title Our Lady of Banneux isn't just a name, it's a declaration of Mary's closeness to the suffering, the marginalized, the ones who feel forgotten. She appeared near a spring, a humble trickle of water that she blessed as a source of healing, instructing Mariette to pray for the sick and to trust in her intercession. This wasn't a spectacle for the elite or a vision reserved for the pious. It was a lifeline for anyone battered by life's hardships. The Virgin of the Poor stood as a mother to all, her gaze fixed on the broken, her hands extended to lift them up. In Banneux, Mary didn't just appear, she planted herself in the dirt and despair of human struggle, reminding us that heaven isn't distant but achingly near. This title also carries a weight of responsibility. Mary's words to Mariette weren't abstract or poetic, they were direct, almost urgent. Believe in me, I will believe in you, she said, a pact of mutual trust that challenges every believer to step into faith with courage. Our Lady of Banneux isn't a passive figure to be admired from afar. She's a call to action, a reminder to seek out the poor in spirit and body, to bring them to the spring of God's grace. Her apparitions, recognized by the church in 1949, aren't just a historical footnote, they're a living invitation to encounter the Mother of God in our own moments of poverty, whether that's physical, emotional, or spiritual. Church investigation and approval process. When whispers of divine apparitions echo through a small village like Banneux, Belgium, the Catholic Church doesn't rush to judgment. It moves with a deliberate, almost painstaking caution, rooted in centuries of tradition and a deep responsibility to protect the faithful from deception. The reported appearances of Our Lady of Banneux to young Mariette Beco in 1933 were no exception. What followed was a rigorous investigation, a process that feels less like a modern courtroom drama and more like a quiet, sacred discernment, balancing faith with skepticism. The local bishop, Louis-Joseph Kirchhoffs of Liège, took the initial claim seriously but with measured reserve. He appointed a commission of clergy and lay experts to examine every detail: Mariette's testimony, the consistency of her accounts, the spiritual fruits of the events, and the reactions of the community. They interviewed witnesses, pored over the girl's simple yet unshakable descriptions of the Virgin Mary as the beautiful lady, and weighed the messages calling for prayer, penance, and a chapel to be built. The church isn't looking for spectacle, it's searching for authenticity, signs that what occurred aligns with the deposit of faith and bears the mark of divine grace. And this wasn't a quick verdict. The investigation spanned years through the turmoil of the 1930s and into the shadow of World War II. Skeptics within and outside the church questioned whether Mariette's visions were the product of imagination or even deliberate fabrication, yet the commission found no evidence of deceit. Her humility, her lack of personal gain, and the growing devotion among pilgrims who flocked to the site all pointed to something beyond human contrivance. The messages themselves, emphasizing prayer for the sick and the poor, echoed the gospel in a way that felt undeniable to those tasked with discernment. By 1942, Bishop Kirchhoffs gave his preliminary approval for public devotion, a cautious nod that allowed the faithful to honor Our Lady of Banneux while further study continued. Full recognition came in 1949 when the bishop officially declared the apparitions worthy of belief, affirming that they carried a supernatural character. This wasn't a stamp of obligation. Catholics are never required to believe in private revelations, but it was a profound acknowledgement. The church, in its slow and meticulous way, had sifted through the mystery and found a glimmer of the divine. The chapel requested by the Virgin was built, and Banneux became a sanctuary of healing and hope, drawing countless souls seeking solace under Mary's maternal gaze. Signs and miracles reported at the spring. In the quiet hamlet of Banneux, Belgium, where the air seems to hum with a sacred stillness, the spring that bubbled forth at the behest of Our Lady of Banneux has become a focal point of divine mystery. It's not just water that flows here, it's a current of hope, faith, and inexplicable grace. Since the apparitions to young Mariette Beco in 1933, pilgrims have flocked to this unassuming spot, drawn by stories of healings and spiritual awakenings that defy the cold logic of the modern world. The spring, as Mariette described, was pointed out by the Blessed Virgin herself during one of the 8 visions, with a gentle instruction that it be a place of healing for all nations. And so it has been. Reports of miracles are whispered from one pilgrim to another like sacred secrets passed down through generations. A woman, crippled by arthritis for decades, claimed to have walked unaided after bathing her hands in the icy water. A father, desperate for his child's recovery from a terminal illness, spoke of a sudden and unexplained remission after praying at the spring. These are not tales spun for dramatic effect. They are the raw, unpolished testimonies of ordinary souls touched by something extraordinary. But it's not just the physical healings that mark this place as holy. Many who come to Banneux speak of a deeper transformation, an inner peace that settles over them as they kneel by the spring, a clarity that cuts through the noise of life's struggles. The water, blessed by the presence of Our Lady, seems to carry a quiet power, a reminder of the gospel promise that faith can move mountains. Skeptics might scoff, attributing these experiences to placebo or coincidence, but for the faithful, the spring is a tangible link to the divine, a place where heaven brushes against earth. Even beyond individual miracles, there's a collective sense of the miraculous here. During times of war and hardship, Banneux has stood as a beacon. Stories from World War II recount how the village, despite its proximity to conflict zones, emerged unscathed as if shielded by an unseen hand. Pilgrims returning year after year describe an unshakable feeling of protection, as though the prayers offered at the spring weave a spiritual armor around the sacred ground. The signs at Banneux are not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes they're as subtle as a shift in the heart, a renewed strength to carry a personal cross, a whispered answer to a long-held question. Yet for those who come with open hearts, seeking the intercession of Our Lady of Banneux, the spring remains a wellspring of hope, a place where the impossible feels just within reach. A call to journey with Our Lady of Banneux. As we reflect on the apparitions at Banneux, Belgium, where Our Lady appeared to a young Mariette Beco in 1933, declaring herself the Virgin of the Poor, we're reminded of the profound simplicity of faith. These encounters, steeped in Catholic tradition, beckon us to trust in Mary's intercession and to seek healing, both physical and spiritual, in the springs of Banneux. At Journeys of Faith, we believe these holy sites are not just relics of history, but living invitations to deepen our devotion. For over 4 decades, Journeys of Faith has guided pilgrims to places like Banneux, where the presence of Our Lady lingers, offering transformative spiritual experiences. Inspired by the legacy of Bob and Penny, Lord, we invite you to walk this sacred path with us, whether through our pilgrimages, retreats at Holy Family Mission in Arkansas, or our extensive media, books, DVDs, and streaming videos. We strive to bring the miracles and messages of saints and shrines into your life. Let the story of Our Lady of Banneux inspire you to embark on your own journey of faith, encountering the divine in the quiet, humble moments where heaven touches earth. Join us and let's discover the sacred together. Ready to walk where the Blessed Virgin appeared? Here's how you can dive deeper with us. Join a pilgrimage, experience Banneux firsthand with our guided tours to this sacred shrine, steeped in the presence of Our Lady. Explore our media, Journeys of Faith Media. From books to streaming videos, immerse yourself in the stories of miracles and saints that shape our faith. Attend a retreat. Visit our Holy Family Mission in Arkansas for a transformative retreat that renews your spirit. Connect with us. Follow our mission to stay inspired by Catholic tradition and upcoming journeys. Let's embark on this path together. Visit Journeys of Faith today and let the miracles of Banneux ignite your devotion. Frequently asked questions about the apparitions at Banneux, Belgium. What are the apparitions at Banneux, Belgium? The apparitions at Banneux, Belgium are a series of Marian appearances reported in 1933, where the Virgin Mary is said to have appeared to a young girl in a small village, known as Our Lady of Banneux, or the Virgin of the Poor. These events are steeped in a profound sense of humility and compassion, calling the faithful to prayer and healing. For those of us at Journeys of Faith, these apparitions represent a powerful reminder of Mary's role as a motherly intercessor, guiding souls to her Son through simplicity and trust. Recognized by the Catholic Church, Banneux remains a sacred site of pilgrimage, drawing countless believers seeking spiritual renewal. Who witnessed the Banneux apparitions? The sole witness to the Banneux apparitions was a young girl named Mariette Beco, who was just 11 years old at the time. Coming from a humble, working-class family in a tiny Belgian village, Mariette's life, was forever changed by by these divine encounters. Her story, unpolished and raw, resonates deeply with those of us who believe in the unexpected ways God reaches out through the most ordinary among us. At Journeys of Faith, we see her as a testament to how faith can transform even the smallest of lives into a beacon of hope. When did the Banneux apparitions occur? The apparitions at Banneux took place over a short but intense period between January 15th and March 2nd, 1933. Winter's chills still gripped the Belgian countryside as these extraordinary events unfolded, each one building on the last with messages of grace and purpose. For pilgrims and devotees walking in the footsteps of faith with Journeys of Faith, this timeline serves as a historical anchor, grounding the miraculous in the everyday rhythm of a specific moment in time, yet echoing through the decades as a call to deeper devotion. How many apparitions were reported at Banneux? There were 8 reported apparitions of Our Lady of Banneux to Mariette Beco during that fateful winter of 1933. Each appearance carried its own weight, a deliberate unfolding of Mary's message to the world through a child's eyes. At Journeys of Faith, we often reflect on how these repeated encounters, 8 in total, mirror the persistence of God's love, reaching out again and again to ensure the message is heard, felt, and lived by those who seek Him through sites like Banneux. Who is Mariette Beco? Mariette Beco was the young visionary at the heart of the Banneux apparitions, an 11-year-old girl from a modest family in rural Belgium. Far from a polished saintly figure at the outset, she was a typical child, sometimes skeptical, often unremarkable in the eyes of the world, until Mary chose her as a vessel for divine messages. Her life after the apparitions remained quiet, marked by a humble fidelity to the events she witnessed. For us at Journeys of Faith, Mariette's story is a profound example of how God often calls the least expected to bear witness to the greatest mysteries, inspiring pilgrims to seek the extraordinary in the ordinary. What did the Virgin Mary say during the Banneux apparitions? During the apparitions at Banneux, the Virgin Mary delivered messages of simplicity and profound care, identifying herself as the Virgin of the poor and calling for prayer, faith, and trust in God. She urged Mariette to pray often and even directed her to a spring of water, promising it would bring healing to the sick. Her words, though few, cut straight to the heart of Christian devotion, compassion for the suffering, and unwavering reliance on divine providence. At Journeys of Faith, we hold these messages close, seeing in them a call to action for all Catholics to embody Mary's tenderness and to seek healing, both physical and spiritual, through pilgrimage and prayer at holy sites like Banneux. Thanks for listening to Super Saints Podcast. Be sure to click the link in the description for special news items.
Journey is your journey.